Hey everyone, it's Billy Rude from FIFTY8 magazine. Today's video is about education of self. Society is what you and I, in our relationship, have created. We exist in relationship to people, things, and ideas, and in studying my relationship to outward things and people, as well as to inward things, I begin to understand myself. It is an outward projection of all our own inward psychological states. It is a mirror of what you think about self. If we don't understand ourselves and try to transform the outer, which is the projection of the inner, it has no significance. It's like yelling and demanding a seed to grow instead of nurturing and watering it to blossom. We are no different than the collective. We all have created the world as we are. So don't get lost in the battle of comparisons and or separate from the whole. We must become aware of the total field of our own self, our own consciousness.
You are too concerned with what was and what will be. There's a saying, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present.
This environment is always in conflict, and we must not become a product of it. We must be acutely aware of our own shaping, molding, twisting, and perversion of our lives. For if there is conflict in the mind and body, there cannot be intelligence. This is when we grow beyond the social and collective consciousness of the world and become a light to ourselves that never goes out. Without an integrated understanding of yourself, our individual and collective problems will only get worse.
The panda will never fulfill his destiny, nor you yours, until you let go of the illusion of control.
Illusion?
Yes. Look at this tree, Sifu. I cannot make it blossom when it suits me, nor make it bear fruit before its time.
But there are things we can control. I can control when the fruit will fall. And I can control where to plant the seed. Hiya! That is no illusion, Master.
Ah, yes. But no matter what you do, that seed will grow to be a peach tree. You may wish for an apple or an orange, but you will get a peach.
But a peach cannot defeat Tai Lung.
Maybe it can, if you are willing to guide it, to nurture it, to believe in it.
The purpose of the school Earth is to produce integrated men and women who are free of fear, polarity. If there is fear within and between all of us, there can be no peace. Fear is a consequence of a lack of awareness of our creative intelligence, which is our consciousness. We suffer due to our own ignorance of ourselves. When there is no self-knowledge, self-expression becomes self-assertion, which is aggressive and competitive. The more we react, the more we show our programming, our rigid patterns of a limited mind, which is a dull, decaying mind, which creates death. So how do we know we have been programmed or conditioned? When we struggle against any kind of disturbance or defend ourselves against an outer or inner threat, then you are conditioned and programmed. If we are disturbed by anything in life and feel sorrow in the world and ourselves, we are terribly and narrowly conditioned. Disturbance in our being means the mind has become dull. The mind becomes hard and callous. It becomes a dull instrument. These reactions create only further bondage, further conditioning, and further dullness. But what's really behind this is that we are afraid. We are in fear.
You know you can't swim well.
I can swim fine, Dad, okay?
No, it's not okay. You shouldn't be anywhere near here. Okay, I was right. You know what? We'll start school in a year or two.
No, Dad! Just because you're scared of the ocean...
Clearly you're not ready, and you're not coming back here till you are. You think you can do these things, but you just can't, Nemo!
I hate you.
We are afraid to to express our creative intelligence. This reality has a whole network of escapes, which then creates habits of escape. So we must be constantly aware and sensitive to our reactions and conditioning. We must face it and have the will to act. If we see physical danger in our lives, we act instantly. So how come we don't see the danger of our own conditioning and act? Because we don't see it. We are not aware of it. Most of us live life just reacting, unaware of our environment and ourselves. This reality is created to distract you from your own truth.
Daddy! Help me!
Nobody touch him. Nobody touch him.
Can you help me?
No. You get yourself in there, you can get yourself out. Calm down. Now, alternate wiggling your fins and your tail.
I can't. I have a bad fin.
Never stopped me. Just think about what you need to do.
Come on.
You have to be your own teacher and your own disciple. You have to question everything that you have accepted as value, as necessary to discover yourself. Those who do not know themselves end up looking outside of themselves for a savior. We look to politicians, celebrities, athletes, artists, teachers, gurus, and so on to fix our problems in the world and tell us how to live. These only offer temporary relief and further confusion and demands. This in the end creates tyrants and a transfer of power and authority to another but different or new group. We have to stop frightening and bullying each other to acquire knowledge. The true knowledge is the unknown, which is you. Do you know who you are? If you feel that you are not equal or as good as anything or anyone, it is because you do not know who you are, which creates insecurity and pain, duality, suffering. If you don't follow someone and feel alone, then be lonely. Why are we frightened of being alone? Because we have to face ourselves as who we are. Empty, dull, stupid, ugly, guilty, anxious, depressed, petty. A second-hand being. Face it. Look at it. Do not run away from it. The moment you run away, fear begins. We are all here to awaken the capacity to become aware of ourselves instead of indulging in self-gratifying, limited experiences.
You must be imaginative, strong-hearted. You must try things that may not work. And you must not let anyone define your limits because of where you come from. Your only limit is your soul. What I say is true. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great.
We must engage our mind. Self-inquiry begins by asking not what I am, but what am I not? In order to face our lives in every moment, we must be infinitely malleable and free of any boundaries and patterns of thought. These boundaries of thought are limits, structures to keep ourselves within a box. All systems are games of thoughts that are only transformed when there is a change from within. The individual is more important than the system, not the other way around. As long as we don't understand ourselves as an individual and bring harmony and peace from within, there is no outer system that will bring order and peace to this world. You must ask yourself, is this a problem of violence out there or here? You have to question violence within you. We must become vulnerable to look into ourselves. Violence is subtle. It is separation of yourself from everything that exists outside of you. Race, class, beliefs, nationality, politics, traditions, etc. It is separating yourself from the rest of mankind, which only leads to the fear of life. Having any thought of me versus them, man versus woman, positive versus negative, good versus evil is duality consciousness. It is a war within the mind, which is violent.
You think you could do these things, but you can't, Nemo!
He says it's time to let go! Everything's gonna be alright!
How do you know? How do you know something bad isn't gonna happen?
I don't!
We can only do something when we are beyond anger, beyond violence ourselves. We have to learn why we condemn and justify, because it is a part of us. It is not separate from you. These poisonous thoughts of limitation affects the purity of your being, and it becomes very difficult. Many feel the severity and despair on this plane of intense pain and agony. I have been there. I was extremely depressed and suicidal. When I was 17, I almost killed myself, but my spirit wasn't ready. I was depressed because I was very sensitive to my own thoughts, which are far worse than words. But then I learned from the experience by allowing the depression and became wiser. Now the next time I feel any kind of oppression, it will never be as devastating. To avoid it is the worst thing you can do. When you are unhappy, be unhappy. Unhappiness is the discomfort of a realization of another realization, which means another feeling which comes with wisdom, which is a milestone of life. It is the only way change can ever come or be accepted. Create in it and know what it is and come out of it. That makes you strong. That also gives you the wisdom to understand yourself. You become more aware of the realities of feeling and a deeper understanding of self, which is wisdom, the pearl of this universe. You will learn more about yourself when you are in somber states, and there you will truly go where you would never venture before. You will go into darkened places, and there you will leave yourself until an answer flows through you to light it up. That is the way we heal. Healing is an exposition of truth, of your truth. When you feel confused, I have learned is a necessary and scientific emotion. Be patient and allow yourself to contemplate and be confused. Allow it to come and take time to listen to you. It is one reaches a point to where they have nearly completed but have not accepted that completeness of the journey, where there is a new adventure waiting heavily at the door. It is a state where many remain who are afraid to let go of the old, yet the old is boring and limited because it is familiar to them. Confusion means you are trying to make a decision to be something other than what you are not, and you have no dominion over your anxiousness and fear, so you cannot be sure of what will come. This confusion then dominates the existence of the being.
Why do you wait and mope?
Well, I've just lost my family, all my friends, probably forever.
How do you know?
Well,
But that is no match for wishful thinking. If you focus on what you've left behind, you will never be able to see what lies ahead. Now go up and look around.
We have to encourage ourselves to develop a sharp and healthy mind that is capable of dealing with the issues of life, rather than trying to escape it. When we try to escape, it only leads to contradiction, frustration, cynicism, and bitterness. It is essential we become aware of our own mind and its own conditioning, its own motives and pursuits. This is the education of the mind, of self. Engage yourself. This is a school about you. You are the authority, not anyone else outside of yourself. When we look outside of ourselves for an authority, It is only limiting our capacity to further understand ourselves. We must create an intelligent revolt, not on the exterior, but on the interior, without reaction, but awareness of self-knowledge of one's own thoughts and feelings. Become serious with the urge to find out what truth is, what love is, and have no concept of it. We have to live in what is, the present moment of isness. Learning about yourself is always in the present moment. We are learning all the time, every minute, by watching and listening, seeing and doing. It is always in constant movement. Learning implies a great sensitivity, a mind that is quick, pliable, and alert. It is hard to become this sensitive when we overeat, overindulge, because it makes our bodies gross and insensitive. Our attention to ourselves becomes dull and heavy. It is much more difficult to do this if you're caught up in opinions, judgments, and beliefs. This is what creates separation from you, the mind, and organism. It has to become one in total movement. You are a fresh, living, constantly moving organism and mind. So you must create a mind that is alive. So look at yourself without any fear and see it for what it is, simply and with a quality of innocence and humility. Never stop learning about yourself, for when you do, you have stopped achieving, which is freedom, which is always new. You have to study yourself in actuality, as you are, not as you wish to be. We can facilitate this kind of learning by creating an atmosphere of joyous affection and conscious care. This is how we must treat ourselves and others. You can only better yourself. You never degrade self. Life is ongoing. It never goes backwards. All activity and work helps us to know ourselves. Everything teaches us. All teaches you of yourself. That is the discovery of one's own ability and creativeness. The unknown equates to unlimitedness and greatness. The grand adventure, it is the conquest, the hero's journey, which is a demonstrating God, and then you will never be confused. You will only want more. Then you will experience many lives in one lifetime, and your fire will never go out. That is because you are ready for life and all that it has to offer. It is like giving birth. When the change and the birth comes forth, the adventure and new beginnings are full of joy, and the pain then is forgotten. We have to discover ourselves and cultivate our own innate capacity and look at life as a whole, a realm of infinite possibility. We have to understand our own limitations so that we may tear them down.
Dad, I know what to do!
Nemo, no!
We have to tell all the fish to swim down together!
Get out of there now!
I know this will work!
No, I am not gonna lose you again!
Dad, there's no time! I can do this!
You're right. I know you can.
Lucky fan!
This is a feeling of ease, acceptance of what is, and non-judgment. As babies, when we take our first step and fall, do we scold the child? No. We help them to get up and try again lovingly. That is all we have to do. To care about ourselves and each other in this loving and supporting way. Like the feeling and security with the teacher. We must feel secure with ourselves without a dependency or authority figure, which only creates fear, conformity, and doubt. When we learn to be this way, then there is no need to follow any ideal other than your own. You have found your truth and the path of your destiny. The greater this love of this intelligence within, the greater the reality and abundance, which leads to more unlimited states of being. Intelligence is the capacity to perceive the essential, the what is, the isness of our being, and to awaken this capacity in oneself and to others is self-education. In this state of inquiry, this attention to ourselves, we become free to truly learn. We are both the teacher and the student. This is then the beginning and the end of education, of self-mastery. Thank you for watching this video about the education of self, and please subscribe to future videos where I use this knowledge to empower your life.